Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I'd like to talk about baseball a little bit. You know, today, baseball has become an expensive sport. It's not a cheap thing to go to, and it requires a lot of funds. But baseball's been around a long time, and I have to tell you, it wasn't invented in Cooperstown. I mean, that sounds nice. I mean, that's where the museum is and everything else. But baseball has been played since the 18th century. And it was an institution. It was developed here. It grew here, and it became part of the American scene. Years ago, people used to go and play and have a wonderful time watching baseball, watching the teams, the New York Athletics, which later became the Yankees. And in these games, they would do fun things. Some things that we don't do anymore. One, for instance, comes to mind, and that was the spitball. I think we've all heard of spitballs, but do we exactly know what a spitball is? Well, a spitball was just that. Spit on a ball. And it was thrown. And it affected the way the ball flew through the air. And in 1919, 1920, there was a great discussion in the baseball leagues whether baseball should stop using the spitball. And in fact, in 1920, the spitball became illegal. It's interesting to note that while baseball remained wet, the United States went dry through Prohibition. The interesting thing about the spitball was also this: they grandfathered it. So all the pitchers who threw spitballs could still throw spitballs, but all the new pitchers could not. And so until 1934, the spitball was used in baseball. And in fact, when the last pitcher retired in 1934 who threw spitballs, an interesting thing happened. The United States went wet, and baseball went dry. One of the more unique things about the sport. But the fun thing about the sport was also this. It was an American pastime. It was cheap. It was a way to escape. And during the panic of 1907, and the panics of the 1920s, and during the Depression, and the terrible years of the 1930s, baseball was the place for people to go. Today, can we afford to go see baseball? And who has the seats? Who controls the seats at the baseball games? Who buys most of the seats? Corporations, banks, institutions, AIG. And who's funding these people? We are, because they keep getting grants from the government. And who do they buy seats for? Themselves and their fat cats. So baseball once was America's pastime. But today, it's becoming a bit of a hazard trying to get a seat and be able to enjoy a wonderful American institution.